Sanibona, usanele Zuma lo. We're now looking at part 3 of you at UKZN as part of your orientation program. In this section, we're focusing on you and mental health. Isigaba la sibhekekela isimo mpilo sakho ngokomoya nangokomqondo. We are existing at the time of COVID-19, and this is a period that has been very emotionally draining to most of us. And it has compromised our emotional well-being and our mental health, and students are not immune to that. Studies done by several researchers seem to be indicating that indeed there is a high prevalence of mental health cases among students during this time of COVID-19. So as a result, I find a lot of students having to deal with a lot of anxiety. There is a lot of fear. They suffer losses, be it losing some family members, and with some students actually seeing their parents losing their jobs because of adjustments that have to take place due to the virus. People falling into depression. There's a lot of grief, so it's a hectic period actually. What's good to know and to understand is that student support services does offer counseling services for students who are actually affected by this time, and we've also prepared some videos which speak specifically to these issues, and we do also run some support groups to assist students through their life-changing experiences. So do make sure that you take the time to go through our website aessupport.ukzn.ac.za for more of these videos. Ngike ngasho-ke kulesi slide elidlule ukusho ukuthi abafundi manako ukubhekana nezimo ethanda ukuba nzinyana ephazamisa isimo sabo sempilo ngokomqondo nangokomoya. So ezinye izinto eziye zikusize ukudila ne-stress, uqinisekisha ukuthi uzinika ukulala okwanele, uphumule ngokwanele, uzame futhi ube umuntu ongesiyo inkomo edla yodwa, ukwazi ukuxhumana nabangani nefamily yakho, kube nabantu ozokwazi nje ukuxoxa nabo, ukhulume nabo ngezinto ezikuhluphayo, uthole leyo support, nokuzama nje ukuba positive ekubukeni izinto nangezinto ozikhulumayo, and uqhubeke nokunaka izinto ezikuhambela kahle, ngoba esikhathini esinje kube nzima ukuzinothisa lezo zinto ezisakuhambela kahle ngoba zigcina sekukuningi ongathi akuhambi kahle. Ngathi ungakunika isikhathi nje ukuzibhala, noma kuthiwa uzibhala phansi izinto that you're really grateful for, and unganqeni ucela usizo. Makukhona izinto obonayo ukuthi sithanda uba inkinga, student support services is there for that purpose, so the students are able to speak out if they really realize that they are not coping and they need support. Exercise helps a lot. Ujwayele nje uma umfundi usho ukuthi now and then uyawuvocavoca umzimba, akudingi usho ukuthi kuze kube into serious, ukuthatha i-walk nje nayo kusenye exercise. There are more coping strategies discussed in the videos that we have prepared, and you can click on that link to engage a bit more with such coping resources. We're also existing at a time where gender-based violence is very prevalent in our country. Unfortunately, there's a lot of abuse directed towards women and children in particular, and it's important to note that the university has zero tolerance for gender-based violence, and we urge students to report any cases of gender-based violence through our risk management services, or they come to counseling. So be it rape or sexual harassment or domestic abuse cases, we expect you guys to report these cases whenever you see or experience them. And niqikelele nje lokho, nigcine nasemqondweni wenu ukuthi i-university imelene kakhulu nokuhlukumezeka kwabantu besifazane, nokuhlukumezeka kwey'ngane, nokuhlukumezana nje ngobulili, and ayibukeli phansi izinto ezikanjalo. Nilindelekile nje ukuthi ma kwenzeka kuwe ureport, and i-university into eyithathela phezulu kakhulu. One form of gender-based violence can come in the form of sexual harassment. Sexual harassment being an unwelcome sexual advance or request for sexual favors, or any unwanted verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature. And this kind of behavior can be from a student to a student, or a staff member to a student, or a student to a staff member. And please note that sexual harassment is viewed in a very serious light by UKZN, and the university is very committed to investigating all claims in a manner that is more sensitive and that protects the victim. So nikwazi lokho kusho ukuthi i-university imelene kakhulu nokuhlukumezana ngokocansi, and into enjalo idile nazo ngendlela ethanda ukuba serious, and iyaqikelela ukusho ukuthi labo abayisulu zalezi zinto bayavikeleka kakhulu uma sequlwa amacala abo. Alright, so if you're wondering what would constitute sexual harassment, gender harassment, examples being sexist statements, obscene jokes, insulting remarks, so there might be jokes that we say about the opposite sex, so jokes you may say about girls, jokes you may say about boys, but some of these jokes are a bit more sensitive, they are more sexist, they are much more insulting, and if they are experienced that way by the person you are trying to joke with, it constitutes sexual harassment, specifically gender harassment. Seductive behavior, sexual invitations, persistent text messages of sexual nature, so especially if they are not welcome, if you're busy trying to seduce somebody who's really not interested, and you're sending them pictures and that are inappropriate, and you're inviting them for sexual favors, they don't need to come. The mere fact that we are sending those invitations when they are not wanted is a misconduct. Sexual bribery is where we promise people a reward for actually sacrificing their bodies. So somebody may be promising you higher marks or money if you sleep with them, or if you share certain pictures of yourself and things like that. So sexual coercion also, or by threat of punishment, or somebody threatens that you'll fail, or I would hold your marks if you don't do this. So it's more like you are forced to surrender your body for you to be able to obtain certain things, which are in a way due to be given to you in any case. Right, so sexual imposition is where people are being forceful and invading your space and your body, forceful touching, people are grabbing you and things like that. So kwazini lo kusho ukuthi i-sexual harassment ijule kakhulu, akusiko nje ukusho ukuthi sekukhona odlwengulile, yabo, nokuhamba nje upansa abantu bengiyamisele ngalokho, uhamba uba wota abantu ngendlela ezobenza bangazizwa kahle, nokuba namancoko nje alumelayo ngobulili babantu, nokuthumela imiyalezo engemihle kubantu yocansi abangayifuni, noma kuthiwa uthisha wakho ke mhlawumbe usekuthembisa izinto ezinkulu, uthembisa amamaki ngokusho ukuthi wena fanele umenzele izinto ezithile ezincike kucansi noma ekuvezeni umzimba wakho. Konke lokho kuseyi-sexual harassment, and izinto lezo kumele uzireporte mazenze. Not many people are aware how deep and how damaging sexual harassment is to those who are victims, and it's important to note that it causes so much damage, and some of these reactions become a bit more permanent. They become lifelong. You find people growing, getting older, and they still experience the trauma they suffered from these experiences. Some of the common reactions is depression, anxiety, shock, anger, fear, guilt, self-blame, embarrassment. Some people would go as far as struggling to sleep, and would eventually drop in their academic performance. And you can imagine when you are overwhelmed by such negative emotions, and some students will end up even not showing up in classes and actually withdrawing themselves, because sometimes if you know that the person who was abusing you is someone you get exposed to every day, seeing them would invoke all of these emotions, and that's how students end up withdrawing themselves, and in a way their academic work gets affected. Akekho esifisa nesilindele ukusho ukuthi uzohlukunyezwa, but ke asesike sithi into eyenzakalayo yino ongadinga ukuyenza. Kubalulekile ukusho ukuthi ungasoli. Isikhathi esiningi abantu abahlukumezekayo ukafila ngathi ube nesandla ekutheni into yenzeke. Cha, akekho umuntu onegunya lokukuthinta, noma ngabe kuthiwa ubugqoke kanjani, noma kuthiwa ubutheni, ngaphandle kwemvumo yakho akekho umuntu onelungelo lokuthi azitapele nje emzimbeni wakho. So ugwema ukusola. Kubalulekile futhi ukuthi ukhulume nomuntu omthembayo usho ukuthi uzokusupporta nozokululeka kahle, futhi ne-information omnike yona akuyona into azoyiphatha budedengu, uzoyivikela. Kubaluleke kakhulu ukuthi futhi uthole i-counseling. I-counseling is highly confidential, okusho ukuthi ozobe uxoxa ne-counselor lakho into eyogcineka phakathi kwenu nobabili, and akukho kophuma ngaphandle kwemvumo yakho. So noma sekuthiwa kukhona okwenziwayo, uyohlezi uyingxenye enkulu yokudecide ukuthi hayi singakwenza lokho, hayi ukuthi singesakwenza. Kubalulekile ukureporta ku-RMS, ureporte nakubantu abakufundisayo, ungaba i-module coordinator, i-academic leader. Ungathuli-ke futhi ukwazi nje usho ukuthi cha kulo muntu okuhlukumezayo. Kubalulekile lokho, usho ukuthi nje umqonde nje, ungakhulumi into egwegwile, kucace ukusho ukuthi awuyifuni lento. But ke kubalulekile ukusho ukuthi noma kunjalo, noma ukwenza lokho ubumreporta futhi. Nokugcina nje ama-record wezinto ukuthi zenzeka nini, kanjani, obani akade bekhona, ukuze phela icala uma ukuthi liyaqulwa, liyaqhubeka, ube nofakazi obanele ukusho ukuthi nalo onukubezayo agcine ethathelwe inyathelo. Kunenombolo-ke khona e-university nama-email la abafundi abakwaziyo khona ukufona babike into ekanje ngaphandle kokuziveza ukuthi bayobani. So inamba nje 0800 203 285 inamba yamahhala leyo, noma u-email lapha ku-UKZN@tipoffs.com. uyakwazi usho ukuthi ubike into ezikanjalo ngaphandle kokusho ukuthi uveze ukuthi ungubani. One thing that you also need to be aware of as a first student in as far as protecting your mental health is the issue of drug and substance abuse. The freedom that students experience at university outside their parents, because some of you, it would be the very first time where you have to live independently and outside being monitored by your immediate family. So you become your own boss in a way, and it's very easy to get into bad habits and begin to abuse alcohol and other drugs. Keep in mind that drug abuse does impair your judgment and functioning, and you don't see things as you would normally see them when you're abusing substances. Your judgment is impaired. Things that you would probably not do when you are sober become very easy to do when you are drunk. So you end up compromising yourself in a big way. And that's why you often find that you find a lot of people getting into fight, or they are involved in car accidents, because they were driving but they were not even aware, and they are not keeping safe on the road. Unsafe sex, and some people will go as far as committing rapes, and so on. So when a student is abusing substances, the academic performance drops significantly, and eventually some students will have to drop out, or maybe get excluded because they are not really progressing well academically. But apart from those challenges with school, it also causes a lot of impairments in your mental functioning, and we know that there are heart attacks also that are a result of substance abuse. Impotence can be a result of that. Weight gain, and sometimes these substances may lead to psychosis where you are really not yourself. It's more like you go crazy in common language, and you find that you are also experiencing a lot of health complications. So be mindful of the fact that as much as the university may get you into a space where you interact with a lot of students socially and find it easy to involve yourself in all of these things, be mindful of the significant negative impact it has and how it can damage your life in the immediate and the long term. Yeah, possible outcomes of abuse. Yabona nje mawusu abuser idakamizwa. Ngabe utshwala, ngabe insango, noma yini nje usuqala ukuyi-abuser isidakamizwa. Izinto ongalindela nje ukuthi zingenzeka ukulimala komqondo wakho. Omunye uthola ukuthi useshawa i-depression, omunye ama-blackout. Blackout ukuthi uyaqhubeka wenza izinto kodwa umqondo wakho awusekho aware ukusho ukuthi wenzani. Abanye abantu baye bavuka ekuseni akazi nanokuthi ufike kanjani la ekhona. Kulula ukusho ukuthi wenze ama-decisions abhedayo ngalesikhathi wena u-blackout-ile ngoba awazi nanokuthi ulala nobani, awazi ukusho ukuthi ibisetshenziswa i-protection, awazi ubushayelelwa ubani. So kulula ukusho ukuthi umqondo wakho ukhubazeke ngalezo khathi. Abanye abantu uthola ukusho ukuthi bayaphuza ngisho bekhulelwa bagcina sebezala iy'ngane nazo ezithanda ukuphazamiseka ngokomqondo, njengoba sesibone kuy'ngane ezine-condition ebizwa nge-fetal alcohol syndrome. But-ke nako-ke nje uku-affecteka kwama-relationships, because abanye abantu bagcina sebebanga into engenasidingo. Asisho nje ama-relationships ngokomathandana, but nje idakamizwa zezi-affect nama-relationship ekhaya, ama-relationship nabazali, ama-relationship nabangani, because ngicina manje kuba nezimo usho ukuthi kuyaliwa kubangwa nezinto ey'ngekho ezingenasidingo. Njengoba besishilo kule slide esingemuva usho ukuthi ziningi izinto ezigcina zicompromise impilo yomuntu ezingakholela nasekufeni ma-abuse idakamizwa. Abantu bagcina beginqika nemoto ngoba vele bashayela abadakiwe abasaboni nakahle. All right, I want to close on this note. It's a quote by Barack Obama, and I quote, "Making your mark on the world is hard. If it were easy, everybody would do it. But it's not. It takes patience, it takes commitment, and it comes with plenty of failure along the way. The real test is not whether you avoid this failure, because you won't. It's whether you let it harden or shame you into inaction, or whether you learn from it, whether you choose to persevere," unquote. So basically, Barack here is making a great point that if you really want to be great at something, if you are to achieve what you came here for, if you are to live the dreams that you are pursuing here at UKZN, it will come with a lot of patience and it will come with a lot of commitment. But do expect that at some point you will fail at certain things. And it's not possible to avoid failing at certain things. It's how you react to it that is important. When we fail and lock ourselves in a corner and feel sorry for ourselves for years, we find it hard to progress. But if we learn from our mistakes and choose to go on and be better, then we have a big chance of making our mark in the world. Njengoba yesho ubaba Nelson Mandela sengivala, the greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Asiphusheni noma kuthiwa siyaginqika, sibe nendlela yokuvuka siphinde siqhubeke, ngoba ubukhulu bethu abulele ekutheni asizuba namaphutha futhi asizohluleka ndawo. Bulele ekutheni noma siwa siyakwazi ukuvuka, asihlali nje sibe sobhuqweni. On that note, I wish you well for the year and welcome to UKZN. Do always remember that you are not alone. Do not suffer in silence. Student Support Services is here for you. Thank you. Sebong.